Is there too much pro wrestling going on right now? And that might seem like a weird question coming from someone who loves pro wrestling, who has a whole channel dedicated around pro wrestling, someone who goes back and watches 80s pro wrestling. If you guys know me, you know that's what I do. That might sound like a weird thing coming from me, but it's a genuine question because I myself, with the life that I have, with college, with, the social life, with all of that, I'm struggling to keep up with pro wrestling. It really does feel like a weird thing to say, but hear me out. So the reason why I'm bringing up this topic is this weekend coming up, so that is the 11th and 12th of July. From the Friday, we have SmackDown, we have ROH Supercard of Honor, then on the Saturday, we have Saturday night's main event, we have NXT Great American Bash, and we have AEW All In. Then on Sunday, we have Evolution, an all-women's pay-per-view. That is a lot of pro wrestling for one weekend. How does anybody have the time to watch all of that pro wrestling? And I know you're going to say, but you don't have to watch all of that. You can pick one company. You can just watch WWE. You can just watch All In. That is true. But as someone who centers their content around pro wrestling, as someone who watches a lot of pro wrestling and enjoys pro wrestling, I kind of want to see what happens in all of these shows. It feels like all important things, or for the most part, important things on every single show. SmackDown is obviously the build-up to the pay-per-views this weekend. Maybe that you could give a skip if you really wanted to. ROH Supercard of Honor, it's something you want to see. I mean, I don't watch weekly ROH, but I enjoy watching the ROH pay-per-views that they put on. And this one, which usually is held during WrestleMania weekend, has now been pushed to All In weekend, which is great for AEW. That is how it should be. They should have double headers. They should be doing the whole NXT WrestleMania thing, but for All In, maybe All In ROH thing. That's great. So I got no problems with all AEW in this situation, by the way. Then we got Saturday night's main event. Goldberg Gunther. As much as we don't like Goldberg, we want to see what happens in that match. Don't lie, you want to see what happens in that match. Then of course NXT Great American Bash, that might be a skip, but I think that's on a totally different time to all of the shows, so you could watch it if you really wanted to. AEW All In is a must watch this weekend in my opinion. If you're going to watch one show this weekend, it's AEW All In. That's my personal opinion. Then of course we have Sunday, which is Evolution, and that is the all-women's pay-per-view. It's an historic pay-per-view, it's an important pay-per-view, and unfortunately it's been shoved on a busy weekend, so it feels less important. That is just a harsh reality. Not only all these shows on one weekend just because WWE wants to counter-program AEW, capitalism at its finest, but now you gotta somehow find the time to watch all of this in between your daily life. If you've got a wife and kids and you want to watch this pro wrestling, you're going to have to pick one of these shows because realistically, you won't be able to watch all of them. And that is a real sad thing. And I think it's just down to too much pro wrestling right now. Let's look at a normal week of WWE programming. A normal standard week, no pay-per-views. We've got Raw, which is 2.5 hours, NXT, which is 2 hours, and SmackDown, which was 3 hours, but is now moving back to 2 hours. That is a total of 6.5 hours of pro wrestling in your week, without Evolve, without LFG, without all of those things, and without pay-per-views. That is a lot of pro wrestling. 6.5 hours of pro wrestling in a week. That is only if you're a WWE fan. Now you want to watch AEW because you hear people talking about AEW. You're hearing how good the show is getting. You're hearing about the great matches. You're hearing about Hangman Adam Page, Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, Jon Moxley. But that's another story. you might not want to hear about Jon Moxley. But you're hearing about all that and you're like, let me watch an episode of Dynamite. Now you got to watch 2 hours of Dynamite, 2 hours of Collision, and that's a total of an extra 4 hours. Now if you were to include that with your WWE scheduling, that is 10.5 hours of wrestling. Just watching AEW and WWE. Now you hear, oh, TNA is doing well. TNA is competing with AEW for that second spot. Let me go see if it's worth anything. Now you got to watch 2 hours of Impact. Plus Explosion, which I think is another hour, but I haven't even included that. So that gives you a total of 12.5 hours of pro wrestling without pay-per-views, without additional content. 12.5 hours. That is a lot. And I have not even included New Japan Pro Wrestling. And the only reason I've not included New Japan Pro Wrestling is because their schedule is often different week to week. They don't have a weekly running program. So now with the G1 coming up, that's an extra 2-3 hours nearly every day. So there is no time to watch all this pro wrestling. And I know what you're thinking. Why would anyone want to watch this pro wrestling? But you know what? You obviously don't need to watch all of it. But we're constantly hearing about cool things happening on different shows. So you want to delve into these different shows. And it's forcing you to pick between one or the other when you don't want to. Realistically, you don't want to. WWE is now even doing multiple night pay-per-views just to add to it. SummerSlam, 2 nights. Cool, for WrestleMania, big show, important, let's do it. We're fine with it. We got on board with it. Now you want to do SummerSlam, then you're going to start doing Royal Rumble, then you're going to start doing Survivor Series, then you're going to start doing Money in the Bank, all just to make money. There is too much pro wrestling. We are getting burnt out from the amount of wrestling that there is right now. And you know what? It's leading to the same stories over and over and over within the shows. Because you can only do so much and you can only see so much. Everything that has been done in pro wrestling now has been done multiple times throughout the last 40 years. But now because there's so much of it, you are seeing it more regularly. Rather than seeing a certain type of storyline carry out maybe once every 4 or 5 years, you are now seeing it every year. That is a problem. And I blame this on capitalism. Capitalism at its finest. WWE is trying to get as much money as possible, and the best way to do that, have as many shows as possible and sell those tickets for as high as possible. They are counter-programming AEW in an attempt to maybe shut down their business. But the way I look at it is, anyone that was going to watch AEW is still going to watch AEW. You are not going to take away from their fan base. Their fan base is a hardcore fan base. You may be stopping them from getting a new fan base, or people that may have thought about watching it, now maybe going to rather watch their normal WWE instead. But their normal fan base is still going to watch it. It just feels petty to me. They put so many shows on a weekend, I can't even keep up. It's damaging their storylines. There is no time for any stories. There is too much pro wrestling going on right now. Who honestly is able to watch all this pro wrestling? Who? Honestly, nobody in their right mind is able to watch all this pro wrestling. There might be people down in the comments, ooh, I watch all of this, I watch all of that. What else do you do? What else do you do? Do you do anything else? And it's cool if you don't, but do you do anything else? Because if you don't, that tells me that you basically need to commit your whole life to watching pro wrestling. Which, whatever. Your circumstance is your circumstance. But the point is, that's how much time you have to commit. And it's just unreasonable at this point. It's got to the point where I think most people are watching their pro wrestling through YouTube highlights and through Santi's up clips on TikTok and Instagram. That's how they are watching their pro wrestling. They may watch the full pay-per-views, but when it comes to week-to-week programming, there is just no time and there is just too much of it. So people tend to watch clips and highlights on YouTube. That is a sad way to watch pro wrestling, because then those same people will complain about things when they didn't even get the full picture, because they didn't get the full picture through the clips. So it creates this whole issue of, I'm complaining about the pro wrestling show, but I'm not even watching the full pro wrestling show. I'm watching through clips and highlights. That's like calling yourself a football fan, but you watch the highlights of your team every week. You don't watch the full match. It's just creating an issue within the pro wrestling landscape. Another problem is you need so many different subscriptions to watch this pro wrestling. Say you want to watch AEW. You need HBO Max. I think it's HBO. Sorry, I'm not American. You need HBO Max. Then you want to watch WWE, you need Netflix. Then you want to watch TNA, you need TNA Plus. Then you want to watch whatever else, you need a subscription. Any indie show, which I haven't even mentioned any indies, by the way, you need subscriptions or you need to pay for that. Sure, if you have TV, you might be able to, or cable, or whatever you guys have in the US, you may be able to watch a couple of these, all on that one platform that you have, or that one package that you have, whatever it may be. But for others, you need multiple subscriptions. Like here in South Africa, for example, if I want to watch TNA, I need TNA Plus. If I want to watch AEW in time with everyone else, because we've got a delay here, I'll need to get probably Fight Plus or something like that, or Triller Plus or whatever it's called. WWE, we have it with our DSTV, which is a whole new another platform. That is our cable, essentially. So you need all these different subscriptions just to watch the pro wrestling, and it's expensive. It adds up, along with all your other subscriptions that you already have, your Peacocks, your Netflixes, your whatever. It adds up. I've mentioned a couple times now, why not just watch one show? Why do you have to indulge yourself into everything? Well, for one, if you only watch WWE and you only talk about WWE, you get called a WWE mark. If you only watch AEW, you get called an AEW mark. That is just not a fun thing to have. So you kind of want to indulge in all these different things as much as you can. So don't even come with that whole you only have to watch one program. Yes, I only have to, but I want to watch more than one. But it needs to be digestible. It needs to be digestible. You guys will watch more than one series out on TV. Am I right? Of course you will. You might watch more than one at a time. It's digestible. You can take your time, you can watch it. Pro wrestling, there's no time. You miss one day, you now got to catch up, but now when you're trying to catch up this one, you're missing the next day. And it just goes on this vicious cycle of just trying to catch up the weekly shows to the point where you just miss them. And that shouldn't be how it is. I mean, I like to go back and watch retro pro wrestling, old school pro wrestling. That is not possible for me. I do not have the time to do that. I have a channel, Wrestle Drop channel, where I started doing retro pay-per-views, and I was enjoying it, and I was getting, I'm not saying I was getting high views, but I was getting decent views for a brand new channel. Things were going well, And then I had to stop it because I was losing out on the current product, and the current product is what I need to focus on for Stomp Wrestling. So I just kind of had to slow down on that. Obviously, college started getting busy, so I started doing exams and tests and all of that stuff, so I had to slow down on that, and I just couldn't keep up with everything. I understand why Netflix is not putting that much old content on their platform. People don't have time to go back and watch it. There just isn't enough time, and it's just sad. So you guys let me know. Is there too much pro wrestling? Because I think there is, and I think it's affecting the product right now. I think stories are being overdone. I think you can't keep up with stories. I think there's too many stories, and people think certain feuds don't have proper story, but they do. But there's just not enough time to flesh those stories out because everything is boom, 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 boom. We've got 7 shows to do, and you kind of miss out on the details. I think that the counter programming with WWE and AEW is really affecting WWE's programming. It's affecting the perception of WWE. It's affecting their ability to tell stories. It's affecting their pay-per-view schedule, which is now just all over the place and people can't keep up. And it affects what stories they can tell when and how long a story needs to be dragged out or how rushed a story is going to be. John Cena and CM Punk, rushed. Anything with Seth Rollins, dragged out right now. You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think there's way too much pro wrestling. I hope I made sense in this video. You guys let me know what you think. Is there too much pro wrestling, or am I complaining about nothing really? Is this a good thing for us? Am I sounding like someone who has got everything but I'm still complaining? You know, first world problems. Let me know down below, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.